I get asked all the time, who is the infinite banking concept the best for? And the answer for me always is everybody. But it's really not, because there are a couple things that must be established for a person to do the infinite banking concept. And I want to call those things out. There's 4 specific things you must do in order for the infinite banking concept to actually work. But also, let me just pull this back real quick, because some of you are just seeing this for the first time and you're thinking, what is the infinite banking concept? Well, it's a process you're gonna learn about here a little bit, but in the end, I'll put a video up for you to check out, or just check the video in my bio. But it is a process of you taking back the banking functions in your life. In other words, you become the bank. You no longer have to rely on banks for all the things that you rely on a bank today, and all the money that you give to the bank, all the money you give up to the bank, you take that back. And with taking that back, you also take back control of your money. But again, let's get back to the topic. What is it that you must be doing in order for the infinite banking concept to work? Or in other words, who does this not work for? That's what we're gonna cover. Let's dive in. I think one of the hardest things that I've had to endure is knowing that I can help just about everybody. I can even help the person that comes to me and says, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. However, there's a mindset that I can't change. And that mindset, what I've come to realize, is very prevalent. As a matter of fact, if you look at Social Security or any of the studies that Earl Nightingale did, he talks about the 5 and the 95. 5% of the people out there will fully understand what I'm teaching. The 95%, they conform to what everybody else tells them to do. So there's a big problem, because there's the 5 and the 95. How do I bridge the gap and bring more of those 95%ers over to be the 5%? And the 5% are those who will be financially successful. The problem is the mindset. And I always refer to what Will Rogers said, and he said this: biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. He said the biggest problem in America is what people think they know that just ain't so. So if the problem is not what you don't know, because you can learn, the problem is what you think that you know that just ain't so. That's your mindset. You've been preconditioned to believe that things are as they are. Or, in other words, that everything you've been taught in your life is the only way it works. But when it comes to money, what you've been taught about money actually is not the whole truth about money. So we're gonna dive into the 4 truths, or the 4 things that you must do in order to take back control of the banking functions in your life. In other words, BYOB. Be your own bank. Let's go over to the whiteboard and I'll show you what these are. So one of the things you have to have is income. You cannot do the infinite banking concept or build your own banking system if you don't have an income. Now, I know almost every single person watching this video has an income. Matter of fact, I bet you a bunch of you have multiple incomes. But the one thing you must be doing is you must have a consistent income, because that income is also going to translate into the next part for the infinite banking concept, and that is saving. So out of the income that you make, the other thing you have to be able to do is save some of that. So when we talk about income, the most important thing is if you're living paycheck to paycheck. In other words, all the money that's coming into your house is all going back out the door and there is nothing left. It's going to be really difficult, because number one, you have a mindset of what you make, you spend. Now, I'm not saying that's a problem, and I'm not saying there isn't a solution. Matter of fact, there's definitely a solution, but it will require you changing your habits. Now, there's the rare person that literally has all the money that in their household comes in, and they are forced to spend every penny of it just to live. I bet the majority of the people that say they're paycheck to paycheck is mostly because of bad habits. Money is being spent on things like entertainment. And I'm not saying don't go out and have fun, but if you're buried in debt and you're living paycheck to paycheck, but yet you're still going out on Friday night and Saturday night and going to the Bills game or whatever game you like to go to, you're spending money that you probably should be focusing on getting out of debt. I can't change that mindset, nor would I ever try to. You know, somebody said something to me a while ago and it stuck with me. They said you must understand who your client is not so you understand who your client is. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm explaining to you who our client is because I know who our client is not, and our client is not the person that's got the broken mindset thinking things will never change. They were born into this life. They were born to be, in this position that they're in, and nothing can change no matter what you say, Chris, so they're not my client. Or the other person that says, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, there's no hope for me. Okay, then there's no hope for you. If you believe there's no hope, if you believe you can't become your own bank, then you can't. I'm just going to agree with you. I'm going to be like, yep, all right. If that's what you believe, then that is what it's going to be, because your mindset is everything. But if you say to me, I know I can do this. It's not going to be easy, but I'm willing to do what's necessary in order to change my financial life. Game on. And before I move on, let me just hit one more thing that we hear a lot. I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income. Perfect. That happens all the time. We have lots of people that are on a fixed income. Now, if you stay with me, when I go through these 4 different things that you must do in order to use the infinite banking concept, I'm going to show you where that is not an issue. It is only an issue if you don't do what we're going to go into next, which is number 2. This one is probably the most important. You must be saving money. Or as in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon said, you must keep your money. Now, what does that mean? Keep. Okay, because I like that better than savings. Savings can kind of have a lot of different, definitions, but keep. If you were to tell me, Chris, I'm going to keep something, that means you're going to hold it and you're going to treasure it and you're going to keep it because you don't want to give it away. Well, isn't that what savings is? You keeping your money? It's because you already got an income. We already established that. The second thing is you must be keeping some of that money so that you can save. Now, how much is that number? Well, by definition, the first law of wealth is 10%. Now, I'm not saying all of you have to be saving or keeping 10% of the money that you make, but that's your goal. That's your minimum goal, 10% of your gross. Now, this is one other thing that's very difficult. People are like, wow, that's a lot. Not really. If someone makes $100,000 times 10%, okay, that means they got to be saving $10,000. Now, a lot of times people are like, I couldn't save 10 grand. I hear that all the time. People watch my videos and they're like, hey, can you do a video showing this with less money, like 200 or 300? The reason I don't do those videos is because I already know most of the people that are asking for that video will never take action. Now, I know that sounds bad, but I've proven it. Every time I've gone outside of the box, outside of the norm, outside of our minimum requirement, which is 10 times your age. So I'll give you that one, okay? 10 times your age. I'm 47 years old. 10 times my age, you just add a 0. That's $470 a month. That would be my minimum that I could do that. But is that really the minimum? Not really. You could do it with less. But see, here's the thing. If I go below that, I'm changing the rules of engagement, and therefore I'm putting somebody in a bad situation. Because if somebody wants to go less than 10% or less than 10 times their age, they're stretching, which means they're putting themselves in a dangerous situation. If their income were to fluctuate, if their income were to change, they're going to bail on this immediately. Because fundamentally, essentials come before savings. So unless you're saving money or keeping some of the money you earn, this will not work. And again, just to hit it one more time, this is your target, 10% of your gross income. That is the minimum you really should strive for. The real minimum is 10 times your age monthly. Now, the next point is going to make it crystal clear what you must be doing in order for yourself to be your own bank. The third thing you must have, not something you do, it's something you have or something you find, is opportunities. Do you have opportunities to make more money? Now, some people, when I ask them that, they say, oh, I don't know if I do or not. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you have any debt? Probably, right? Do you have a car loan? Most people do. And a car loan is no different than a car lease because a lease has a buyout at the end. So essentially there is a loan component of a lease. So do you have a car loan? Do you have debt, credit cards, lines of credit? One of those fancy debts that you took on for buying a treadmill or a TV at one of the favorite stores you did? Most people have debt. Matter of fact, I would say if I took 100% of the people out there, probably like 98% of all of them have some type of debt. And the most common would be credit cards and car loans. Those are the most common, which are those, that means those are the two that I like to talk about the most because it hits the majority of the people that I'm speaking to. So how is debt and a car loan, how is that an opportunity? Well, let me explain something. The fastest way for you to build wealth is through your own debts and expenses. Because this is pretty much a synonymous thing across the board, people have debt. Well, let's talk about what debt is. First, let me talk to you a little bit about how a bank operates. Banks have conditioned us all to believe that once we make money, the thing we must do is take it over, find ourselves a bank that we like, and deposit the money into their bank, okay? Sorry about the bad drawing, I'm just kind of just doing this on a fly. So if this is the bank, which I wouldn't put money in a bank that looked like that, but nonetheless, it's a bank. What does the bank do? Well, the first thing the bank does is pays you an interest rate on your money. This is their give to you. The bank, for you depositing money with them, is going to pay you an interest rate. Oh, some of you are making nothing from your bank? I know that's the norm, but let's just pretend that's supposed to be the give. But hey, don't forget, banks still give out dumb suckers, so they are giving because the whole world works on give and get, right? So they're giving you an interest rate, but what is the bank doing with your money? The bank is taking your money and lending that money out. That is what the bank's doing. The lending is an opportunity. So if you just take your debts and you convert them into assets, are you not doing the same thing a bank is doing? Right, because the deposit that you made into the bank creates a liability for the bank. The bank turns around, lends that money out. The loan is an asset to the bank. So the bank's so darn good at turning liabilities into assets that literally is all a bank does. So if you wanted to take your liabilities, which are your debts, your car loans, your credit cards, and turn them into assets, how would you do that? I'm going to show you. But I just want you to understand that this is the biggest opportunity most all of you have, your debts. But what other opportunities might there be? Well, maybe some of you are really good at investing in stocks, or maybe you're good at investing in crypto, or maybe you're really good at investing in real estate or something else. You have a talent. You have something that you know, you like, and you understand. That is your opportunity. Do not invest in things that you don't know anything about because those are traps. But real quick, let's talk about another trap I'm going to send you down, and that is the trap of getting you to subscribe to this channel. Click that little subscribe button right there, and while you're at it, there's a little bell up top. I need you to smash that bell. Just smash it, because that will notify you every single time I put a new video out so you can take part in our webinars and all the fun stuff. Just give it a little smash. Let's dive back in. So back to opportunities. Your debts are an opportunity if you treat them like one. If you just do the boo-hoo me, I'm in debt, you created that problem. You got yourself in debt. You wanted that new car. You wanted to purchase on your credit card. You put yourself in that situation. Now take yourself out of that situation. That's what you have to do. And in a moment, when we're done with the 4, I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. Fair enough? So that is one of the most important things. Opportunity. Because if you don't have an opportunity, well, you can't be a bank. Think of a bank. Imagine a bank that all they did is they took your money in on deposit. And then the bank went to their vault and they basically put your money in the vault until you decided you wanted to come back and get it back. How successful do you think that bank would be? They take your money, They pay you interest on it, and they just put your money in a little box with your name on it in the vault. That bank would go out of business. But the funniest thing about that is, that's what you've been taught to do. You've been taught to take money that you worked really hard for, money you traded the most valuable resource you have, which is your time. You've been taught to give up control of it and give it to the bank. And then you just leave the money there. I find people all the time that have literally hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars sitting in the bank, literally locked up in a vault. And they're not making much in interest, 1 to 2%. That would actually be good by today's. And then they've got a bunch of debt that they're paying anywhere between 5 and 30% on. Think about that. Imagine a person. Imagine the rationale behind this. And I'm not making fun of any of you because some of you are going to be like, oh, that's me. Imagine if you had money sitting in your vault, the bank, okay? You got your money in the bank and they're paying you, let's round up to 2%. You've got 20,000 bucks. You're so excited about that because you followed Dave Ramsey, you did everything, you got all your money saved up for your emergency fund, but on the other side, you've got credit card debt in the tune of, let's just call it $10,000 that you're paying $200 a month on, and your interest rate is 25%. Okay, then you've got a car loan, I'm just gonna make the numbers work, at $10,000 that's owed, you pay $500 a month, and it's an interest rate of 5%. Let's just take just those scenarios. Think about this. You got 20 grand sitting in the bank earning 2%, and you're lucky because you're getting 2%. You actually brag to your friends about that. But then on the other side of your financial statement, your personal financial statement, are your liabilities. You got a credit card for $10,000 that you're paying $200 a month. That money leaves your family forever. It never comes back. And that's because they're charging you 25% interest. And you know, you make your payments on time every single month. Does anyone see a problem? You got 20 grand in the bank making 2, but you're giving up 25% to the credit card. Wouldn't it make sense to reduce this down to 10,000, take the other 10,000, shift it up here, pay off the credit card, take the $200 a month that you were paying to the credit card and put it back in the account? Wouldn't that be the same as you making 25% on your money? Now, instead of making 2, you're now making 25%. And you're recapturing and recycling all the money you were giving away, and you're now keeping it. You can run a simple calculator to find out how long it would take to replenish the $10,000 you took out of the bank that was paying you 2% to pay off a credit card that was charging you 25%. You see how logical that is? But people just don't connect the dots. They don't teach this in school. They don't teach this in college. This is actually common sense stuff, but we just don't think about it. We don't connect the dots. Now, let's go one step further, and then we're gonna move on to the fourth thing you must do. You still got 10 grand sitting in the bank, earning 2%, plus every month you got $200 coming in. That's $2,400 every year in positive cash flow that you are now saving. But you still got this car loan up here. So now we're gonna take this 10 grand from the bank, okay? This 10 grand that's left, and we're gonna pay off the car loan. That's gone. We're gonna take the $500 a month that you were giving away every single month to the car finance company, and we're gonna save that money. So now $500 coming from the car is now savings, $200 from the credit card is now savings. So you are saving $700 a month. How long will it take you to recoup the $20,000? So let's just do some simple calculation that all of you can. Now, if this were your situation, you might be a bit scared because now you got no money in the bank. But now what you've got is no debt because you paid all the debt off. But because of paying the debt off, you eliminated your emergency fund. That puts you in a vulnerable situation. But does it though? Because you still have that credit card, right? You still have 10 grand available on the credit card. Now don't go use that credit card unless it's an emergency to cover the short little period of time where we're recapitalizing your bank account, okay? How are we doing that? Well, remember you were given $200 a month to the credit card, $500 to the bank, that's $700 a month. That means $8,400 a year was being given away on debts. But now $8,400 a year is your savings. So you did take liabilities and converted them into assets. You are taking the first step to becoming your own bank because you're starting to logically understand how this works. How long would it take for you to get that target $20,000 back? 2.38 years. So in 2.38 years, you will have all the $20,000 back in your bank, and then some, actually. But you will now be saving $8,400 a year. And all you did is reposition money that you were saving in their bank because you understood that how the bank makes money is they take your hard-earned money, they take control of it because you give it to them in a deposit, and then they lend it out and make your money, your hard-earned money, work for them. And they make a spread because there's no freaking way the traditional bank is lending money out for anything less than 2%. They're probably lending it out for 7+%. They're probably the bank that lent the car loan and the bank that did the credit card. They are making a spread, folks. And now you're making the spread. Because let's talk about that spread. If you were giving up 25%, but you were saving and earning 2%, what would your spread be if you reverse the order? Well, that would be 25 minus 2. That means you're making 23% spread. Hold on. Your car loan, you were paying 5% on that car loan, but you were saving 2%. You were making 2% on your savings. What is 2% minus 5%? 3. Did you see how easy that was? The amount of the spread literally is just reversed. You're no longer worried about the bank's 2%, you're worried about taking back the 25% and taking back the 5% because it's a greater number than what they're paying you at the bank. I know I went long on that, but I hope that sinks in. I know that was a lot, so I think some of you are probably like, can you just give that to me in the simplest form? Yep. You take your hard-earned dollars that you make, you deposit it in the bank. The bank pays you an interest rate on that money. The bank then takes that money and lends that money out to an opportunity that the bank finds. What opportunity? Well, probably credit cards, car loans, and things like that. Then what I said is if you want to be the bank, what you need to do is take that money that you saved in the vault, I called it 20 grand, but just whatever it is, take the money in the vault, reposition that money and pay off the credit card, pay off the car loan. If you don't have enough in your savings to pay all your debts off, do this. Put them in lowest to highest balance. If the credit card's the lowest balance and you had enough money in your bank to pay it off, pay the credit card off. But then most importantly, take the money you were paying the credit card and put that money back in your bank. And then when you save up enough, because now you're saving money and you're taking back money you were giving away, now when you have enough, you pay off the car loan. And then you take the car payment and you save that. In doing this, you took liabilities and converted them into assets using money you already had, money you already saved. You were just leaving it in the wrong place. And because you were leaving it in the wrong place, the only one who was winning is the bank. Because if you call a 2% interest rate on your bank account a win, we got to have another conversation. Hopefully that brought it all full circle. And speaking of circles, that's what we're actually doing. We are literally creating a perpetual circle of your money flow. We're starting your money on the left side, moving it to the right side, and then moving it back to the left side. I'll show that in a second. But now let's move on to number 4. Oh, the final piece, discipline. In order for you to be the bank, in order for you to use the infinite banking concepts, which is a process, you must be disciplined. Now, are you disciplined? If somebody gave you a task, would you be like, I'll get to that? Or would you get up right then and there and go do that task and do it to the absolute best ability that you are capable of? Right there. That's discipline. We have all been conditioned and trained to follow and to be disciplined, but some of us have mastered that skill. But let me dive a little deeper into discipline. Discipline is the same thing, if you really think about it, as being consistent and persistent. In your actions, when you set a goal for yourself, are you consistent and persistent? If you're set out to read a book, so let's just say I tell you a great book is The Richest Man in Babylon. And you say, oh wow, I heard that book, The Richest Man in Babylon, from this guy Chris on YouTube. I'm gonna read that book. Great. So you go, you buy the book, and then you start reading it. You get through a couple pages, something comes up, you have to stop. Are you diligent enough and disciplined enough to pick that book back up the next day and continue reading? Or are you the type of person that will literally set a habit and say, I'm gonna read 3 pages a day? That is you being consistent and persistent. Because there's probably a lot of people out there, none of you, but there's gotta be a lot of people out there that would get the book, put it on the table, then it would get moved once and twice, and then it ends up on a bookshelf and they never even read the book. That person is not disciplined. Discipline is a trait that we learn. It's not something we're born with. It's a learned trait. And when we become disciplined, we have to also then become consistent and persistent. Now, I was listening to Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret in the World this morning, and he said something profound. He said, consistency is the same thing as faith. You know what faith is, right? Because you would never be consistent if you didn't have faith that you could accomplish what it is you're doing. You would never be consistent if you didn't have faith that you could actually finish the book. But you do have faith. In everything you do, in every dream you have in your life, you have faith that you will accomplish that goal. Now, if you don't, if you think that what you were born with and the life that you're living and your job that you're in that you don't like is just because that's just what it is, well, then you need to find faith. And there are lots of great places to find faith. Start with the Bible, and then maybe you go to church. That faith will bring you joy. And once you have joy, you will find that being consistent and persistent is a super easy thing to do because you're working towards something that brings you joy. Your dreams should bring you joy. So therefore, in this game of being your own bank, you must be disciplined. You must be consistent and persistent, and you must have faith that this will work because it takes action. There is a learning curve, and there is work you will have to do for this to work for you. But if you can do all the 4 things that I just said, then you will be able to do this, because one of the most important things, actually I shouldn't say important things, one of the things I have found that a lot of people struggle with is they steal from their bank. Now, before I give that relevance, let me ask you this. If you owned your own bank, like literally, if you walked down the street and you had a bank and the name of your name was on that bank, you walked into the bank because you needed some money. You went to the loan officers, which you hired. They work for you. And you said, hey, listen, I need a loan. I'm going to buy this new car. And the bank approves your loan and they give you the loan. Let me ask you this. Would you repay your bank? Because remember, the bank lends other people's money, not their own money. The bank lends other people's deposits that they left there. So if you owned the bank and you took the loan from your bank for a car, well then of course you would pay your bank back, right? Now if you paid your bank back, that's great. Would you pay your bank back at the same rate you would have paid Bank of America across the street back at? If Bank of America charged you 7% for that car loan, how much would you charge yourself at your bank? Maybe 6.5, do a little better than Bank of America, but you would indeed pay your bank back, because if you didn't, if you stole from your bank would eventually go out of business. And if you were stealing from your bank, that loan officer just watched you steal from your bank, what do you think the loan officer is going to do? Copy what you did. They're going to do the same thing, and more than likely they're going to steal from your bank. And then other people are going to steal from your bank, because it is contagious, because most people conform to what other people do and what other people tell them to do. So never steal from your bank, folks. Now let's go into the last piece. Let's take all 4 of those components. You must have an income. You must be saving or keeping some of that income. You must have opportunities for that money to go work for you. And you must be disciplined. Let's go over all of those. And now let me show you what the infinite banking concept is. what you're going to do is you're going to take from your income the amount that you want to save. I gave you a target of 10%. And you're going to change where that money goes first. And you're going to put it into an account not at a traditional bank, because the traditional bank will not be the best place for you to store money. Although you can use a traditional bank, it is not the most efficient place. What we have found to be the most efficient place, but not just us, the wealthiest families throughout history have found this, is giant mutually owned life insurance companies. And the only way to save money in a life insurance company is through a vehicle called a whole life insurance policy. That's right, but these whole life insurance policies are specially designed. They're specially designed to serve as a banking function. They do not work great as life insurance, although you'll always have a death benefit. They are not optimized for death benefit. They are optimized for max cash value. So now we changed one thing, and that is where your money goes first. Now let's apply everything else, because now we just covered the first two. You have an income and you're going to save. And that savings is going to go into a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy. And if you're asking why, I'm going to skip past the why, and I'm going to put a video up at the end, or you can watch the video in the bio that will show you exactly why we use specially designed and engineered whole life. So now let's keep going. We're going to find an opportunity. And that opportunity is going to be a place where you can earn more money. Let's pick on debt, okay? Because we already hit on the debt, so let me show it to you a different way. You have a Visa card. Now let's just say that Visa card is the smallest of all your credit cards. At $5,000 is what you owe Visa. Every month, you do your best and you pay $100 a month to Visa. That means $100 a month is leaving your family. And that represents a 25% interest rate. Why is this an opportunity? Well, here's why. You own the bank because you put the money in a specially designed whole life. So now your mindset needs to be shifted. This is not just a whole life insurance policy. This is your bank. Your savings is you capitalizing your bank so that you can run your own private banking system. And how you're going to do this is when you need money for an opportunity, and in this case, the opportunity is Visa, we're going to pay Visa off. That's your opportunity. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our bank and we are going to take a loan. Now, this might be confusing to some people because some of you are like, wait a second, I saved the money, it's my money, why do I have to take a loan? Well, let me explain why we take a loan. Because if you owned a bank, like I explained, you would take a loan from your bank. So you do own a bank, and your bank pays you between 5 and 6+% on your money. Far better than what any traditional bank is paying right now. Not only that, because this bank is a life insurance policy designed properly, this money can grow tax-free. So now we've got a place where we're earning a higher interest rate and dividends in a tax-free environment. And if we want to continue to earn that higher interest rate, even when we use the money, we are going to take a loan. In other words, we're going to take a loan from the insurance company. The insurance company is going to give us that $5,000. The insurance company is going to charge us roughly about 5.2%. Today, the rates are between 5 and 7% depending on the interest rate. But let's keep this simple and just make it 5%. That's what the insurance company is going to charge you to use their money. But you're probably thinking, well, why would I use their money when I have the money in my whole life policy? I saved that money. Yeah, well, we still want to earn that interest rate and dividend on that money. So let's not take our money, let's take the insurance company's money because they're gladly allowing us to take a loan from their general account up to the amount of the money that we have in cash value. So as long as you got $5,000 in cash value, you can take a loan of up to $5,000 because the insurance company wants collateral on the amount that they give you. So what's the collateral? Your cash value. And what does the insurance company actually lend you? Your death benefit. They will lend you part of your death benefit up to the amount that you have in cash value. Because remember, the cash value has to collateralize the loan. So by doing the loan, all of your money, all $5,000 or $5,000+ that you've saved in that whole life is still continually earning uninterrupted compounding interest. It is still growing at that interest and dividend rate that the insurance company paid you. They call it the dividend crediting rate. But now you have $5,000. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the $5,000 and we're gonna come over here to Visa and we're gonna say, Visa, we don't want you anymore. We're gonna pay Visa off with the $5,000. Now, right out of the hole, that makes sense because Visa was charging you $25 and the insurance company charges you $5. So your spread, if you really wanted to look at that, your spread in this case is 20%. You pay the insurance company 5% on the $5,000 loan, but you were paying Visa 25% on that loan that you took from them, your credit card balance. So now that we paid Visa off, now we're gonna move to the next part. You have to be consistent and persistent, and you have to be disciplined. Because you were disciplined in paying Visa every month. Visa sent you a statement or notified you when you were late, so you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta make that payment. That payment was $100 a month. You no longer owe that to Visa because you paid Visa off using money from your banking system. So now what you're going to do is we are now gonna be disciplined, and we're gonna take the $100 that we used to give to Visa. Remember that $100 represented 25% APR. We're gonna take that $100 and we're gonna put that money back into your policy. So now, every month, you have $100 going back into your policy as a loan repayment. Remember I mentioned, if you owned a bank and you took a car loan from your bank, you would pay your bank back. That's what we're doing. We're paying our bank back. But because you own the bank, every payment you make of $100 is $100 that you have back in your banking system. When you paid Visa $100 every month, did you have $100 back? No, you just owed $100 less. Over here, you physically have $100 that you can use the next day. But what we're also doing is every single payment we make back to the insurance company, we are repaying the death benefit. We are repaying the insurance company at the tune of $100. So next month, you owe $4,900. And when you owe $4,900, that means that the insurance company is charging you 5% on 49, and then 48, and then 47, and then 46. You get the drift. If you're paying 5% on a declining balance, are you paying less in interest than you would have? Absolutely. But what also is happening? You got $5,000 over here in your cash value, adding $100 every single month in repayments. Plus you're still saving money, but the $5,000 that you had in cash value is compounding at a rate of over 5%. And it's not interrupted because you took the money, because you didn't take your money, you took the insurance company's money. This, my friends, is exactly what being your own bank looks like. The only thing that will change is the amount of money you have in the policy, but also your opportunity. Once you're done with all your debts, it will not be debts. Maybe it will be stocks. Maybe it will be private lending. Maybe it will be something else, but your opportunity will change. But every time you find an opportunity, just remember the simple rule. Whatever the opportunity's interest rate is, or potential interest rate is, needs to be higher than what your cost of funds from your bank is 5%, then your opportunity must warrant a higher interest rate or a higher yield than 5%. That's it. It's that simple. It's actually quite logical. Everything I just showed you is exactly what a bank does. We just reversed the order and made you the bank. Think about that. Every single thing we just did is what a bank does every day. The only difference is a traditional bank uses other people's deposits. Your private bank only uses your personal deposits, which come from your income. And if you like this video and you want to learn a little bit more about how the infinite banking concept works, check that video out right there. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you on the next episode.